Jody Claypool, Stefan King. We are the Freedom Cats. Meow.
Hey, what is this? 9 episodes in, and we're finally getting it.
Nailed it.
Finally getting it.
Because you demanded it, we have thoughts. We have Kosciuszko County election day thoughts. It's a hyper local episode that will have a very short shelf life. 3 weeks from now, you're going to listen to this and think, whatever. Kind of like our slap episode hasn't aged well. Hasn't aged well at all. You listen to that now, it's but whatever. We like these kind of things.
It's all right. A lot of things don't age well, so
that's right. We're getting there's so much urgency thrown at us every day.
Much like the four of us, this episode will not age well.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, so to our listeners in Pyongyang, we apologize for the hyper local content we're about to do.
Yeah. Those listeners are like, dang it. I don't know if that's how they sound.
That was an awful North Korean accent. That was probably one of the worst accents I've ever heard.
That was an awful.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to ask for a good one, but I'm not even going to.
No, that's as good as it gets.
So we had a primary, fellas. We had a primary here in Kosciuszko County.
Woo.
And a couple, throughout the last few weeks, we discussed a couple of these candidates, and some of them won, some of them lost.
Yeah. And I mean, primaries here are, in all reality, more important than the general election anyway. We talked about it the last time we talked about elections. I mean, this is basically the election.
That's right.
So that's why I think recapping it's pretty cool, because ultimately, I will say 95% of these people that came through the primary winners, they're going to go on to win the general.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think, just for the good of the republic, that we have a full ballot come November. History shows that's not going to happen. But so these will be the people who will be representing you in your government come the fall.
And a lot of these will be uncontested positions right now at this point.
Yeah. So
if you're going to write yourself in, do it now.
Now's the time. Let's just start off with surprises. Any surprises that hit you when you woke up Wednesday morning or went to bed Tuesday night?
I can't say I was surprised at the results. The sheriff race, I mean, that was the most probably closely contested of the races. Some people were happy about it, and some people were not so happy about it, but it is what it is, one way or another.
Well, the sheriff race was definitely top of the card, right? I mean, that was the race that was going to bring people to the ballots. Should be noted that the low turnout, even for our area, 20% of registered voters voted in this primary. That's down from 26% 4 years ago. In this,
why do you think that is?
Why do I think that is? Well, if I'm being honest, I think that, if the sheriff race was the top of the card, I don't think that race brought anybody out to vote for something. Jim Smith, our new sheriff, his race was kind of based on, I'm going to do a lot. I'm going to do what Dukes has been doing, make some changes, but I'm definitely going to do it cheaper. That was, and the case was made, for some of the, things that felt that Dukes was doing wrong. Dukes, his campaign is, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. That's not going to bring people out. You're either voting against the incumbent. The incumbent's not bringing any. There wasn't a real driving force to that race. And I think people want to vote for something. They don't want to vote against something. They want a positive catharsis when they pull that lever. And I don't think that happened in a lot of these races, especially at the top of the card.
Is that a sign of a good thing where we don't have any real hot button issues that the candidates are rallying around? So it's just it comes down to, hey, this guy can do the same thing the last guy was doing cheaper.
I don't know. And in fact, I was scrolling Facebook yesterday, and the bad part of this is that, a lot of the positive things that in the last episode we talked about that Dukes is doing and showing improvements on, I didn't see the ads for those until yesterday. So, I mean, as far as voting for someone, really, I think in that race anyway, Dukes put out information via social media, but it was, too little too late. That for me anyway, to be able to see, that firing back about those issues at the jail and stuff like that, it was just late. But I mean, I think it's more apathy than anything else. It doesn't matter. So many people, I mean, honestly, myself included to a certain degree, you see faces change, but you don't see anything else change.
Well, this was definitely not a race for faces changing. Our community welcomed the warm embrace of the familiar in this race. If you look down, I mean, Bob Connolly, local commissioner, he's going back. Tony Cirillo, I mean, he's newly elected to that position, but Tony Cirillo's been in local government service for, I think he said it himself, his entire adult life in this community, whether it's his serving as a police officer or the coroner, everything else. Kim Cates, she won her race against she's the incumbent. Dave Wilkins, our old state rep, he retired to spend more time with family. That lasted about 6 months, and he said, I'm going back to work. He was elected.
Yeah, but Craig Snow, right? Craig
Snow is okay, but he was already elected, right? They merged. He was 18, or the other way around. They merged that district, so you really had two incumbents going against each other. Now, I will say, Craig Snow, you talk about surprises. I did not see the absolute avalanche. Snow, avalanche.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. You want to talk about apathetic?
Bro, I've been holding it.
Yeah. He's been saving that one for a minute.
I know. He thought that one up last night.
He's been thinking this through over and over, like repeating it in his head, and everyone just rolling.
How did none of our local media jump onto that? I mean, that headline writes itself. Avalanche.
You heard it here
Snow
first, folks.
Buries Nisley. Yeah. There's your Brian's dying over there. There's your podcast title there, fellas. There's your episode title.
Yeah, that was a huge lopsided victory.
But 100%, and we'll get to that in a sec. But
again, we got to get into that. I want to understand why there must have been some animosity against Nisley, right, within the establishment.
Well,
sure.
Are we gonna go ahead and?
Yeah, kind of bring him to the...
Yeah, well, let's go ahead. No, let's dive into that. So, so you had two districts. Those districts were merged and adjusted in order for this to happen, okay? Kurt Nisley is not loved down in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
He's not loved by the party.
What's the story there? He just doesn't play nice?
I'm not going to pretend that I know the thinking of these folks, but I think there's two types of legislators, right? There's performative and there's the working type, okay? You have your performative ones, the names that you always hear, right? AOC, Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene. These are performative type people. Kurt Nisley is of that ilk, right? Goes down there and he's fighting for life and he's fighting for guns. Has never gotten a bill passed his entire career. Has never got a bill out of committee, right? And you got to think about what these jobs, when you think about this, like I like to think about, well, what's the job we're hiring them for? And if you watched a lot of his ads, it was literally Nancy Pelosi was in his ads and AOC. Those women do not work in Indianapolis, right? Like your job as a state legislature is not to fight those big topics, right? Your job is to bring money to your community. Bottom line.
For sure.
That's the gig. Bring money to your community. There's a big pot of money down there. The job is, in my mind, is to send the man or woman who's going to bring the most of that back to us, right? You want good roads, you want parks, you want all the stuff that we talk about.
Mhm.
You want a vibrant manufacturing industry. That means we need money to do those things. We need the funds to do those things, and Kurt and Isley wasn't able to do it. And I think it finally caught up with them, right? And there have been what I would call like mediocre candidates that have gone up against Kurt and Isley in the past who've done real good.
Mm-hmm.
So if you looked at it, you could say, okay, if you got someone who could throw his weight around just a little bit, he's going to beat this guy. Now, Craig Snow's that guy. Add somewhere I think between $200,000 and $400,000 in a campaign chest, and suddenly 70 to 30 makes a little more sense.
Yeah, I understand that Craig Snow came with a lot of downstate money toward this campaign, so that's some changes that wanted to be made. And I made a post on election night about just money when it comes to the elections. It's like it's time for change, not for dollars. And it's one of those things where, should downstate money be involved in the local elections? I mean, it is, but do we, want Indianapolis to determine what our politics are up here? It's just a question I ask, because it seems like those with the bigger coffers are the ones that, walk away with the votes.
Yeah, no, I don't like outside interests involved in community issues. I don't like it, but it happens.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Yeah, and when people are talking about the establishment, I'm just picturing a group of people that are completely uninvolved and really don't care about any particular locale. This is a group of people deciding who they want to put into a position. And so apparently the establishment didn't like Kurt Isley.
And really liked Craig Snow.
Which is weird, because, the things you're talking about as far as, policy ideas and protecting life, protecting guns, that's Indiana establishment right there. So it makes me, kind of think. I'm reading between the lines here, like what was coming up that was, there were changes being pushed through or something like that, and they didn't want it to happen.
Yeah.
Don't know. I'm being Jody for a second.
Yeah. When you're looking at the green lines and numbers and
no, you guys are both seeing the code. I got to be real with you.
Yeah.
I'm not in this particular conversation.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, but I go, it's funny when we start talking about establishment, I immediately go to like Hillary Clinton being selected as the candidate to run against Trump. Right? The establishment selected her. Nobody wanted her to run against Trump.
Absolutely.
Anybody else could have beat Trump. Right? If Bernie went up against Trump, he probably would have won.
So the election, that one, I'm so sad that I was on vacation, because this was like, you had the like a guy that was selected by the establishment to run against the person that he didn't want in there.
Tracy,
and then
the person,
the sister,
put some respect on her name,
Tracy Flick.
Tracy Mofo Flick.
But then you had the sister,
The person, how dare you
Tammy.
use her?
Tammy,
Yeah.
who just ran in there and just shook everything up.
Yeah,
And I'm looking at that
what we
exact election, thinking, holy crap, this is Trump Hillary, and then you got the Bernie on the side who the people actually wanted and is completely blackballed.
It's
by
totally
the
a
establishment.
prophetic. Yeah, I was seeing that too.
Yeah, it's
Pretty wild.
Great pick.
Yeah, whoever picked that. High five.
That went first ballot into the. So again, a lot of establishment picks, right? I mean, locally, we picked a lot of familiar faces, and then the establishment, they got their guy in Craig Snow.
Yeah.
So all is well. Back to Jim Smith real quick, because he's the one. I mean, he's a new face, relatively speaking. I mean, in terms of incumbents that lost, it's Kyle Dukes and Kurt Isley. Those are the two big ones. What do you think? What do you think led to the Dukes' loss?
Honestly, I think Jody hit the nail on the head. I think it was about the money.
For Dukes?
Yeah.
Oh, the raise?
Yeah.
I think it was about the money.
The perceived raise?
It was two things, because I also think you brought up a really good point. I don't think the money would have been that. It could have been diluted if he would have brought up all the changes that made such a dramatic difference.
Yeah.
When he came in and made it about the improvements that he's been gunning after, and that he successfully made, right? But instead of doing that, everyone focused on, how much more money he's making, which really, probably isn't that big of a topic, but it is a topic.
It's wild to me how hard that stuck. That could not get, they couldn't shake it. And I think it was the difference.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Jim Smith ran for sheriff for a year. And I think that's important not to undercut. He ran for a year. That dude showed up at Memorial Day last year at that parade and did not stop. Where you talked about, maybe you saw a little bit of accelerating happening in the last couple of weeks from the Dukes campaign. Jim Smith worked for a year, and there's something to that. With that said, that margin, I think, lives in the voter perception that a public servant gave himself a significant raise.
Sure.
In a time when we're paying more at the pump, we're paying more at the grocery store. My dollar has less of an impact than it has in a long time that I can remember. And this guy is taking the money they're taking out of my check. Freedom Cats is brought to you by 24/7 Cars. Are you looking for an affordable vehicle that you'll love? Then come see us at 24/7 Cars. With 2 locations to serve you in Larwell and Bluffton, you'll find what you're looking for at 24/7 Cars. This guy's using that and giving himself a raise?
That's the perception.
Right.
100%.
That's the perception.
And it's based on speeding tickets. So now, hopefully, less speeding tickets.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking ahead.
Speaking of, that's a whole other topic. So now Jim Smith is sheriff.
So what are the changes going to be? Nothing. He's going to do the same exact thing Kyle Dukes did.
He's going to take a pay cut.
Yeah, he's better.
He better. And God help him if he ever gives himself a
raise. He's done it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of the problem, though, right?
He's locked into $22 for the rest of his life.
Right. But that's a challenge, though, right? Yeah. When you build a campaign based on accountability, I'm going to hold the incumbent accountable for these things. Because and I've said this before, I don't consider what he did negative campaigning in the sense of mudslinging. It wasn't positive campaigning, don't get me wrong. He wasn't singing anybody's praises, but it wasn't mudslinging. It was, he was holding him, from his perspective, he's holding him accountable.
Issue related.
You held that guy accountable. Now it's your turn.
Yep.
Now it's your turn. You had things to say about fentanyl in the jails. God help you when they find fentanyl in the jails.
Yep.
Talk about prison deaths. Maybe you probably should pray this anyway, Brian, but I pray there's no deaths in the jail in the next 4 years. And the problem is that a lot of these things are going to happen.
For sure.
Because
they're not law-abiding citizens.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, if the other guy is willing, if his will is at a place where he's willing to eat a balloon full of heroin and then poop it out and dig through it in order to get his fix, he's gonna win. Because that's a level of dedication that a lot of people, that I don't know that the guy on the other side has. If the other guy is just there, if the other guy's at his job and the other guy's willing to do that,
yeah,
what have you got?
That's never been brought up in a job interview. Are you willing to swallow this balloon for this job?
So
I've seen it in plenty of job interviews on Locked Up Abroad.
You've never been asked that question in an interview?
If they started to step up the interview process with those types of questions, you'd really weed out some of the
I work in the car business, so I'm always asking weirdo questions like that. Have you ever swallowed a balloon?
What are you willing to do? This is like,
right,
a Klondike bar on steroids, right?
So yeah, I mean, listen, my prayers are with Jim Smith. He's a good man. He's good police. Just this could be a case of be careful what you wish for.
Sure.
Absolutely
Sure.
it is. Absolutely. I mean, he got what he asked for, and
So we'll see.
good luck, bud. You
We'll
got
see.
it.
We'll see. Another race that we talked about previously was a county council seat to get Tony Cirillo versus Scott Clay.
Yep.
And Josh Lozano. Got to talk about Josh Lozano.
Yeah. He never came up.
Josh Lozano, I don't really know him well, but he did.
If somebody would have sent out a letter to everybody in the population bashing Josh Lozano, he might have probably done better in the.
Possibly.
But hey, so Josh Lozano raised, in the paper I read, he raised $100 for his campaign.
Nice.
Got 8% of the vote. My man Josh Lozano got 200 votes. 200 people said. So what happened? I think besides, so we'll say
Per capita, he probably did better with his war
he
chest
did
than
better.
anybody else.
He did better with his money than the other guys did. But if you look at it, so let's take his immediate family out of the equation, right? So let's just say Josh Lozano has we'll say 10. 10?
15?
20? 20. All right, so 10% of the votes are friends and family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So 180 other people looked at the other two guys and said, nah, nope, and hit the Josh Lozano eject button. Like, nope, not voting for either one of these dudes. I'm going with Lozano.
Does anybody know what this guy was campaigning on? Or was it just, here's my name?
Here's when I let me tell you when I fell in love with Josh Lozano as a candidate. Fell in love with this dude. So they're at the candidate forum, and first question is about the county lawyer. So the previous county lawyer, Chad Miner, they were paying him $60,000 a year, right? He gets elected judge. They appoint a new guy, a guy named Ed Ormsby, right? Ormsby comes in like 6 months in, is like, yeah, here's my bill, $130,000. I know the previous guy was doing it for about 60. I need 130.
Suck it up. Yep.
Now, Ed Ormsby may be twice the lawyer that Chad Miner was and deserves that money. Maybe he does. As a taxpayer, I'd like us to find a lawyer who's maybe 20% better than Chad Miner, or maybe just as good. I don't need the guy who's twice as good.
Right.
So they asked him about this. They asked the candidates, okay, so last guy made 60. This guy wants to make 130. Again, it's a lawyer asking for $130,000 of taxpayer money. It is a softball pitch with a basketball in terms of answers, right? The answer is, they ask you, do you support it? I mean, the answer is, do I support giving a lawyer a 200% raise of taxpayer money? No. There's your answer. You're done. My man Josh Lozano says, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm sorry. And they move on. Now, embarrassing. Comes back the next question before he answers the second question, which I don't even remember what it was. But he says at the second question, he's like, listen, I just want to say something. Part of this process that I love is being able to learn things. And it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I don't know, but I'm going to find out and I'll get back to you. That's okay. I'm not going to stand up here and pretend that I know these things, right?
Fair.
Very sweet answer. Very like, I'm not electing the guy who doesn't know these things, but good for him. Good for him. So Josh Lozano got 200 votes. The difference between Cirillo and Scott Clay was about 280 votes. So our boy Lozano played spoiler, I think, a little bit in that race.
So you're saying if you would have put another $200 in, this would have been a very different race.
It might have been. We talked in particular in that race. We talked about the mailer that was attacking Scott Clay.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say about that is none of us, I think, were making light of the content of the letter so much more of like the overall design.
Well, for me, it was the passion and commitment that the letter represented.
Right.
And the irony that the person could have done it for free on social media.
Well, the author of the letter reached out to me.
Okay.
After they heard our episode. By the way, thank you for listening. And made it clear that our local folks, our local media, the established media, wouldn't print it. Wouldn't print that letter. One said it was libelous. The other said it was too long.
It was long.
It was long. Libelous, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. We are sponsored by a lawyer, which I would like to say, take a minute here and recognize our sponsor, Travis McConnell, LLC. You know, guys, I don't know if you know this or not, but I got myself into a little bit of trouble 5-6 years ago. Was arrested, charged.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lawyer at the time, but let me tell you, after talking to Travis McConnell, I realized I said way too much. I gave up way too much. I helped the police do their job a little too much than I maybe should have. And those are the kind of things you learn with Travis McConnell. Travis McConnell, he's not one of these establishment guys, right? He's not going to, the county's not throwing $130,000 at Travis McConnell, man. Let me tell you, no, sir. Travis McConnell, he's for the people. Travis McConnell, he's the kind of guy who's not afraid to stand up and have an unpopular opinion. That's why Travis McConnell's my lawyer and a sponsor of the Freedom Cats podcast. Back to our show.
His billboards are epic.
Yes.
If this guy arrests you, call me. Like, how can you plan a billboard any better than that?
It's pretty dope.
As a defense lawyer.
It's pretty good. So,
And he's locally involved. He is invested in the community.
100%.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. You will see him out and about, and it's in earnest.
Yeah.
He's just a good guy that likes helping people.
Right. He also pays us to say these things. So, I mean, again, it's one of those things. He's literally a paid sponsor.
I mean, yeah.
My comment about the billboards is completely unsponsored.
He would have
unsolicited.
said that anyways. That's the kind of guy Stefan is.
Like,
He's
good on y'all.
He's giving you his
I'm
honest
here.
opinion.
Listen, it's not show friends, it's show business. I'm here for the dollars, baby. All right, back to the show. So, I think so. That letter, definitely. I think that was a situation where that definitely hurt. I think that letter definitely hurt.
Yeah, because the people who are going to be motivated to vote would be the people who would respond to that letter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have responded to that letter if you were a candidate?
If I'm running, you're talking about
right.
If I'm the candidate,
Was it a mistake not to respond to the letter?
What do you send out another letter?
Well, some social media. You utilize maybe you utilize the.
I'm building on the joke that
Sure.
it's just funny that it was. I mean, I do really sincerely appreciate the commitment and the passion that it takes to do that, because that's not nothing. There's money in there, time in there, so I do get it. But it's just, I find it incredibly humorous that what they needed was a digital guy, and
Right.
yeah, you guys get it.
I mean, responding can go one of two ways. It's got to be planned out really well if he was going to respond to that. It can go good. And, like I said, anytime, partnerships, employment dissolve, it's always like a divorce. So,
Yeah, right.
You've
That's a good
you've got the people that have to commit to the one side and the people that have to commit to the other. And then you got the people in the middle. They're like, oh, I like both of them. And then they're kind of undecided. So, a well thought out response potentially sways some of those people that are kind of on the fence.
Yeah.
At the same time, if it is not well thought out, it can, hand him a shovel and, that hole's being dug a little bit
tough,
more.
It's tough too, because we're in hindsight and we're just kind of armchairing this thing.
Bro, it's a podcast. That's what
what
we're hired to do.
And so if we're going to do it, we should go all in, right? So what would your response be? Like, literally, how would you come out of the gate with both guns blaring to the people who accused you of, trying to rip them off?
I'm so glad you asked. I have it right here.
Let's hear it.
Here's what I would have said. said, the accusations outlined in a mailer sent out are untrue and libelous. Although the author and I had a short and profitable professional relationship that ended on less than amicable terms, I never imagined he was capable of such fantasies. I applaud the local media for refusing to print these lies, and I'm contemplating pursuing legal action against these folks if these fabricated attacks continue. In the meantime, I hope the people of Kosciuszko County join me in moving on from these silly diatribes invented by a jilted employer and focus on very real challenges our community faces that my campaign is built around solving.
Yeah, it's a good response.
You put it to bed, you're forceful, you're saying it's not true. If it continues, we can call a lawyer
we can step it up.
Like Travis McConnell, LLC.
Just like Travis McConnell.
Right.
Yep.
Paid sponsor of the Freedom Cats podcast. So I think because again, that wasn't, hey, this guy's a rhino. This guy's a secret Democrat. It wasn't that kind of stuff. It's like,
Right.
This guy ripped us off. This guy stole from us. I think you got to respond to that. And I think not responding to that caused him. But with that said, kid comes out, first race, comes within like 300 votes of taking
It is
home.
impressive. Yeah.
Super impressive. He's got I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. I just think a whole lot of 20s going on.
Well, and if you've ever met him, he's the kind of guy that's going to take this as a, hey, I learned I'll do better next time kind of guy. So
1,000%.
Yeah, this was a good showing out of the gate, and the next time he'll probably win.
Yeah. 1,000%. Also, he shows up on the Freedom Cats podcast.
Oh, he should definitely consider doing that.
He did and didn't show. I'm saying had he been on the Freedom Cats,
it would have made the difference. That would have made the difference.
Would have got the Freedom Cat bump.
How many likes and listeners do we have?
Enough
to make the difference. All right.
To make the difference.
Yes.
Well, more than enough.
Well, more.
We would have
scores.
It would have been a Kurt Knisley, Craig Snow situation.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Tenfold.
What was it? The avalanche? How did you?
Avalanche. Big letters.
Like an avalanche coming down the mountain.
So proud of it. I love it.
Avalanche. Exclamation point. Snow buries Knisley. How did that not get printed? Ow. Times Union, call me. I'm here.
How much would REM cost to be part of that campaign? Like an avalanche coming down the mountain.
He's building on it, man.
Yeah,
Man.
let's go.
Avalanche. Big bold letters.
No, you're absolutely right. And seriously, if he would have come on the show, I know he was hesitant about it because he thought it would go the other way for him. But this would have given him a great platform to vet that whole situation and get it out in the open.
Well, okay, but hold on. Don't make it sound like hey, come on here and be we're not a bunch of cheerleaders here. We asked the tough questions.
Did it sound
Jody.
like that when I said that?
All I heard was rah rah. Cisco,
Yeah,
rah.
no doubt. Yeah, no, we'll make him some cookies. Yeah, gonna rub his feet?
All right. Well, I didn't mean it to sound that way.
Can I get you a cup of Joe?
Yeah.
No, I'm a hard hitting
We
player
asked the
from
tough
the
questions here on the
Strizzy
Freedom
show.
Cats podcast.
Yeah, I'd have dropped it like it's hot.
He's about to call up and ask for some pimp juice and to drink.
It was real. It was delicious.
I know.
About wrap snacks. You guys ever had wrap snacks?
Yes.
No, you brought this up before, right? No, I've not. I've never even heard of wrap snacks.
They're chips with wrappers on the front.
Yes.
It's like Lil Naughty's. It's like, Lil Yachty's cheese puffs. Actually, his are like flaming hot, I think. But
Freedom Cats is brought to you by JC Innovations. We provide engineering services for medical device development and defense. It's also brought to you by Tippy River Adventures. You want to get on the Tippy River and enjoy the water with your friends and family? Come out, check us out, have some fun.
Second Amendment rights.
yeah.
No, that's a good one too, but
No.
that'll also come into play
No.
in this conversation.
I want to talk about a movie so bad right now.
I know.
A conspiracy. I got two conspiracies for you.
All right.
The Amber Heard Johnny Depp court case publication thing was a cover-up for all the Hunter Biden stuff going on and the was it Ghislaine Maxwell stuff going on?
Okay. Are Hunter Biden and Ghislaine Maxwell linked?
No. Two
those are
separate
two
things.
separate things.
But
Okay.
it was, hey, look over here. Don't pay attention to this more meaningful stuff over here, right? And this the Supreme Court leak thing was because they're trying to cover up for the vaccine reports that's coming out about embolisms and stuff happening because of the COVID vaccine.
Okay.
There you go. Take that.
I think the Amber Heard thing's trending because
She pooped in his bed.
people want to.
Yes.
She did, Brian. She really did. She defecated in his bed.
That's going to be that.
I had no idea.
Brian learned something new. Like,
So
this show should be called "The Corruption of Brian Lowe." Like, that's what this show is.
Let's hope that Amber Heard's name becomes the synonymous with pooping the bed, right? Let's say you just Amber Hearded, right? We should all.
I heard it. I herded my pants. I herded the bed.
Let's make that a thing.
So no, I don't think it goes that deep, bro. I think the Amber Heard thing is trending because it's like junk food. I mean, it's easier to digest than like war in Ukraine. I maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't think that like it's that coordinated. I think people are like,
People just love that noisy junk food.
because like you try to follow like the war stuff, right? And it gets into like,
I do not.
some people do, right? And you think about like, so I was at the Lincoln Day dinner a few nights ago, and Ambassador Kip Tom was at that thing, and he was talking about the long-term ramifications of the invasion and this war that, like, Ukraine is a breadbasket. It provides Africa, I think, like 30% of its wheat, like for the whole 30% of the entire continent's wheat.
Right.
None of that can ship. None of that, and you're sitting there and you're like, okay, hello darkness, my old friend. I've come. It just gets, and then you're like, you're sitting in that, and then you hear Amber Heard poop the bed. You're like, wait, what? And it's that shiny thing, and it's easier to deal with that. It's easier to digest that than the realities. Amber Heard pooped the bed. Let me go back to Amber Heard. Let me go back to Johnny Depp. It's just,
that's a good point.
Do you think that it's partially because
I wish it was the other thing, because it means we would be better people.
No,
It would be we were being better people manipulated by an overseeing hand. I wish that was the case.
Yes,
but I don't think it is. I think
what you're saying.
we just like it more. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. Do you think that it's at all a part of it being that it's the social aspect as far as like the relationship part of it? Because I don't watch the thing. I see this stuff on Facebook or whatever of what happened that day or whatnot, but day to day, I don't really care. But for a long time, the implication was that, men can't be victims of spousal abuse. That's kind of the way that it was perceived. And like this whole thing with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard kind of like gets everybody's attention, because it just brings that. We all know that that's not the case, that spousal abuse can happen both ways, but it kind of brings that to attention. Any tie-in with that, you think?
Well, yeah, and I think there is a sort of Johnny Depp got canceled when this first happened.
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
When the accusations came out.
That's why the
done
trial, right? The whole defamation
he's
trial
suing
is
her
because
for
of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he done. Like he's lost hundreds of millions of dollars. Who knows how much he's lost, because how many opportunities that he's had. And again, it was that jump to, it was a jump to your point, right? Of anytime someone yells fire, people come running. Mm-hmm. And we're finding that there are people out there. Jesse Smollett, remember that guy?
Yeah.
The guy who
staged his own
his own racial assault. Amber Heard. These people, there are people that do this, and it's disgusting behavior, because there are real instances of racism in this country. There are real instances of abuse in this country. There are real instances of these things that then it makes it harder. It makes it harder to
read between the lines,
tell the difference between the two.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so you get people who want to, you know, make a name for themselves, want to be a part of that, who then are craving for that attention.
Well, and is there, to build a little bit on what you're saying, but is there, is this a good opportunity to kind of look at that portrayal that Amber Heard is putting on, and she's getting a lot of criticism for acting on the whatever, on the or what do you call it when you're being
The Stand.
the stand? Yeah, when she's acting on the stand.
I learned that from Travis McConnell. Travis McConnell, LLC, paid sponsor of the Freedom Cats podcast. If you have legal trouble, Travis is your guy.
So they're talking about how she might have like a neurosis. She might be, you know, the DSM-5 designation of a psychopathic narcissist, or, you know, something along those lines. I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know what the designation would be, but something like that. And this is a sign of how that exists. That person has no real tie to emotion, but likes to think, like, will see it and act on it and say, okay, this is what I see. She was talking about how Johnny Depp was crying, right? And she thought it was weird, for example. That's the one snippet I saw. And people were playing off of that. Like, that's human emotion, and she couldn't relate to it. And they were trying to diagnose her with some sort of neurosis. And so this whole dynamic between them has kind of delved into this crazy level of dissecting the personalities and the relationship of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And people are gleaning valuable nuggets from it. And you started by saying this is junk food, right? But people are so hungry for trying to find something meaningful in the junk food, right? They're picking out the peanuts, right? So it's, so as you're saying, oh, you know, spousal abuse and how men can be abused. Yeah, let's pull that out of the junk food, right? Let's pull out, hey, maybe, you know, there are people who have these neurologic conditions that, you know, we should be aware of. I don't know. As this whole thing's unfolding, are we looking for more value in two actors having a conflict and, you know, some serious stuff?
Freedom Cats podcast is brought to you by Hoplar Brewing, with 2 locations in the historic Leesburg Mill and the new location on Market Street. We brew with innovation.
Information, obviously, you know, that's why he's taking her to court. But is it just junk food? I don't know.
I think it hits on, we're talking about all these different, you know, social issues. It hits on that same, I don't know, emotional level that, you know, the Second Amendment proclamations and the other things, the Roe v. Wade, they all have this crossover. Like, we could talk about laws and helping with, you know, local finance and everything all day long, but there's this crossover into an emotional state on certain things. And that's probably why they're such, you know, they come to mind. They're such big topics, as opposed to, you know, worrying about wheat coming from,
well, they do
Ukraine.
Some of these do hit home for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think I think that is part of it too. It's personable, right? We all know Johnny Depp. We all have some kind of connection to Johnny Depp, personal connection. I mean, that's why we do this podcast. We have these personal connections to these films and the people that do them, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, Johnny Depp is someone to you. He's been a part of your life some way, somehow, and so you feel a personal connection to it. And yeah, you're right. There are instances people can look at it and see things in their own relationships or past relationships, you know, toxicity and things in relationships that they've had. And so all of that makes it just delicious and it's televised. We have access to it. And that's still, even now today, there's something kind of like, you know, there's something kind of sexy about that when we get to watch a court proceeding and all their private.
Oh yeah. Right.
Out,
exactly.
You know, like,
exactly.
That's the whole thing with the Supreme Court thing. Like, stuff doesn't come out of the Supreme Court. Like, you can't take photos in the Supreme Court. You can't record in the Supreme Court. You can't document it. I mean, and so, like, for something to leak out of it, there's something about that's, you know, it's dangerous.
Yeah, not only that, but from what I understand, Johnny Depp there was no part of during his whatever, where he was being grilled by the attorneys where he denied his addiction, or he denied beating up cabinets, right? Like he was like, yeah, I did all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it just legitimized him as a human being, right? So he's in your house in movies, and you're watching him or whatever as a relatable character, or as somebody who's been in your house for a long, long time, and then you hear, oh, he's human, and he's not denying these things. So
All right.
it's a little bit more relatable to me.
Last thing on the Johnny Depp thing.
Tell me.
You're Johnny Depp. You win this case, right? You redeemed.
Mm-hmm.
In the court, in his testimony, he talked about the Pirates of the Caribbean movies and that being canceled.
Yeah.
And how he felt about that, and how he really felt that they deserved one last sort of send off. So let's say you're Johnny Depp, and Disney comes to you, hat in hand, or mouse ears in hand, right? And they want to make another Pirates, or they want to do like a Disney Plus show. What's the number? If you're Johnny Depp, how many zeros are on the check for you to come back after what happened?
Do you think he holds a grudge against Disney itself?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Even if he doesn't,
I'm
he's in 100. Let's say he
6
does.
zeros, maybe 7.
Even if he does, he's a smart enough man to know a leverage situation when he's got one. The people are going to be screaming for this movie or show or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like there will be a demand for this. If you're,
They
what's
can
the
pay
number?
him. I mean,
What's
nobody's paying Orlando Bloom now, so they can pay Johnny Depp as much as they want.
So what? 20 million
For a film?
one shot.
I don't even know what actors are getting paid anymore, honestly.
Yeah, I don't.
I have no idea.
Either.
20 million sounds...
Yeah, 20 million.
okay.
Why not? Why not?
Sure.
Yeah. $20 million.
20 million gets it done.
Sure.
I
I
feel
want
like
half a bill.
You want $500 million?
I want half. That's how mad I am. I want half a bill.
So you're saying he's got a grudge against Disney and he is fleecing their coffers.
I want half a bill. Brian, you got something?
Yeah, well, in court he was asked that question, and they threw out something like $10 million, and then they said like 100,000 alpacas. So apparently alpacas is the sweet spot for Johnny Depp. I have no idea.
Oh, I didn't know how alpacas were an issue. Let me give you a new number.
that adds a whole new element
was-
to this. He's got a passion for alpacas.
Yeah, in court they were like, so
That's fantastic.
if Disney asked for you to come back as Jack Sparrow for, I think it was like 10 million and 100,000 alpacas, what would you say? And he goes, not a chance.
Yeah, half a bill.
they give him 75,000 llamas because like alpacas are like 3/4 of a llama, right? Yeah.
There's some.
What's
there's
that-
some
what's the-
there's some ag humor for you. Hey, that was a good one. I don't know.
What's the alpaca to llama conversion?
Yeah, I have no idea.
He just told you
The
it's
conversion rate?
3/4. Listen to the man. He just told you it's 3/4 to 1.
I'm just guessing. I mean, there's somebody out there that knows.
Argentinian alpacas. I have no idea if that's a thing.
I don't even know if that's a thing. All right. Well, anything else we want to hit on, guys, before we say goodbye? I mean, we went on a journey.
We
today.
literally went from local politics to way more than that. What?
Unbelievable. So, yeah, on behalf of myself, Jody, Stefan, Brian, thank you so much for listening. Thank you to our sponsors and most importantly, to our listeners. We love you. We are the Freedom Cats.